John, how's the show been for you so far?
Very good. I've really enjoyed it so far, and I think there's a real engagement from the clients there. There's a lot of interesting presentations, which for the last few years I don't think we could have said there was a lot of new topics, but I think when people are talking about costs, they're talking about the new pressures because of what's on the market. I think the pressures are bringing people to look at innovation again, and I think we're seeing innovation again in reference data. It's something that in the last few years we haven't seen, but we're seeing a lot of innovation today.
Sure. And in terms of the most interesting topics that you have sort of discussed with people, I mean, what have been the common themes that have been coming up?
Well, common themes are really how people can work smarter with the resources they have. People are looking at trying to do more with less. So if they're trying to do more with less, it leads into a number of areas. One, how do I actually work to reduce my data vendor costs? Is there a smarter way that I can, through changing processes, to implementing new systems, decrease my data vendor costs? Or is there a smarter way of working? Is there a smarter way of dealing with my internal consumers? I think that really brings in very interesting questions around business IT alignment that really haven't been to the fore in the last few years, where people have been looking at reference data infrastructure rather than looking at solving genuine business challenges, which are around cost and risk.
Sure, I think today in particular there's been a lot of criticism aimed at the vendor community, and what have you yourselves been doing to address some of the concerns your customers may be coming to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the concerns are really on the data vendor side around flexibility, and I think what we've been as a data distribution company, what we do is help people do smarter sourcing of data, smarter distribution of data. What we've been doing is helping them to analyze how they're using their data, analyze is there a smarter way of sourcing data, and is there a smarter way of interacting with your consumers of data. And really then you get to a position where if the internal EDM system is more responsive to change and more responsive to how their consumers want to consume the data, I think that's really the frustration they're dealing with, is their downstream consumers still want the same level of service, but they don't want to pay for it as much as they did last year because of the current market conditions.
In terms of future prospects for yourselves, how's business doing this year so far?
Yeah, we're very happy. We've signed on 7 new clients this year. We've announced yesterday a new winner with a major global asset management firm based in the US. And we also announced a major investment bank that signed on with us a few months ago as well. And what we're seeing as well is projects that are of a very strategic nature that were really put back a number of years by the crisis. And they're now coming back to the fore, but they're coming back in a different way, in a different model than they had been in the past. People are concentrating much more now, and this is good news for us, on the end-to-end delivery of a reference data program, not just the collection, the cleansing, the housing of the data, but also the distribution, and thinking of the people downstream as clients. Thinking of how do they want their data, what format do they want it, what time do they need it, what filters do they need on it, and that's really our sweet spot, and that's really why we're doing well, and we're helping people to consume the data in a more efficient fashion as well. So we're happy to see, the freeze and the gone out of the market and people prepared to do projects again.
What do you hope to see at FIMA 2010?
I hope to see PolarLake back here, obviously. I hope to see, much more case studies of what I call a new model of reference data. We saw some this morning already. And I think people will have a new view on reference data in terms of how they sourced it. I think we'll have more news on managed service and how people are outsourcing, but how that interacts back into the organisation once they've outsourced certain parts of it. I think there's certain inevitability to that, and I think as well people will be having more and more solid case studies of very good distribution. That's why I think we'll see back here in 2010.